Welcome to a podcast aimed at pointing out the fact that recovery is possible for anyone. Doesn't matter age or sex or anything. Anyone can find recovery. And that's one of the points of this podcast. We call it Odyssey House Journals. I'm your host, Randall Carlisle. My co-host is Nicole Slack.
Hello.
Hello. And we love talking about success, don't we?
We do.
You know, and so many people do. You always hear such negative stories about drug addiction and overdoses and everything else, but there's a positive side to it all, which is recovery.
Yeah.
You know, so we appreciate you tuning in for another edition of Odyssey House Journals and the thousands of you around the world and around the country who also tune in. So obviously we've struck a nerve because I don't think there's anybody left almost anywhere who doesn't know somebody who is dealing with addiction. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. I think even if they don't know it or they don't talk about it, it's happening
too. Yes. Yeah. And our guest today is a fine example of recovery. Malcolm, welcome.
Aloha, Randall. Hello, Nico.
Aloha. I wish we'd be doing this in your home state of Hawaii.
That would be nice. 77 year round.
If you could fly us out there to do something like this, you know, when you get out of the whole treatment program and you're making millions of dollars, remember Nicole and me and invite us to come out and to the island you grew up on.
Oh, yes, the beautiful island of Oahu. We'd love that. It'd be an awesome time.
What brought you to Utah from Hawaii?
It's definitely cheaper, and I went to school here in Utah.
Right. You went to BYU?
Yes,
yeah.
To BYU. I'm there for baseball and also helped with the Living Legends, also back in the day called Laymanite Generation.
Okay.
And you had did you have a full scholarship?
Full ride scholarship, 4 year.
Wow. Just think now you could be making name, image, and likeness money, and they could be paying you to come.
Yes, that would be awesome.
Times have changed. What happened along the way that derailed your life?
Well, I think the major part, and I think of not only the roots of where I came from, right? We try to find a root of all problems, really, in upbringing and family. And I think it's more too of some of the reasons that carry along with that. My son, I lost my son because of my behavior. And that really set me down a road of my anger. And it kind of really attached to everything as a child growing up. So all the emotions hung with me. And I was, maybe I was done with school. Done with my mission, done with school at BYU. I went back home and I had a son. And because of my drinking habits and my addiction to cocaine, I was taken to jail. Okay, and so the reason for my behaviors and my DUI, my son's mom took him away from me. And definitely it was for a good reason because I was unstable. So that being said, when my son was taken and removed from my life because of the mom and her decision, because of my actions, I went down a destructive path. My anger, something that I've held in me for so long during my childhood, and for this trauma to happen to me when my son got separated from me, really set me on a path of destruction. So I had all the perfect ingredients to self-destruct.
Perfect storm.
Perfect storm.
What you mentioned anger over earlier childhood.
Yeah.
What was that?
I come from a very broken home, filled with all the perfect ingredients, I'd say, to self-destruct. So I come from a background back in Hawaii with child abuse, and it's not my mom abusing us or my dad. It was my mom's toxic relationship boyfriends. And so we would go in and out of those kind of relationships along with my mom. And we were heavily abused, extreme child abuse I come from. So I'd say from, age 0 to age 14.
Okay.
And so going in that experience and coming from that kind of upbringing, I held in a lot of anger. I've looked for the validation. I've looked for love, and we didn't have it. I didn't have a parents, to look for that. And then the separation, because of the toxic relationships my mom got into because of my dad being in federal prison. My parents, my grandma and the family and aunts all got together and says, hey, Faye, which is my mom, we're going to send you off to California. So we're going to take you away from your kids. We're going to take care of them, and we're going to send you away because of your behavior. So off goes my mom. I'm 6 years old now, and my mom leaves me when I was 6. And my sisters and brothers end up becoming the parents. So along with my aunt and grandmas. So now as we go throughout this childhood of my aunts and my grandmas raising us in a house already full with 13 kids, now there's like 15 of us, no attention, just a little neglect, struggling. I'm holding all this anger. I'm always a happy kid, I remember, but I think that was my mask early on in life, is a happy mask, trying to avoid. I think I avoided the anger.
But boiling deep inside.
Boiling deep inside.
Wow. So, even though it sounds sort of dismal, the way you were growing up, how did you end up getting? You must have succeeded in baseball to be able to get a full ride scholarship at BYU. Mm-hmm. So you must have been really good.
I was all right. It was I think all throughout that childhood trauma and trying to hold in that anger, trying to find ways and avenues to continue life. School and sports was my oasis. It was where I found the peace away from the chaos. And I think I can remember running away from home so much. And when DCFS, I believe, in Hawaii, they would always find me in school because I would
really
go sleep somewhere in the park as a elementary school kid, and I would show up to class. So they would find me in my seat in class, same clothes. So yes, I really like school, and
that paints quite a picture. Can you see a DCFS social worker saying, "Where did Malcolm go?" And somebody else says, "I think we can find him in school."
Absolutely. And so many times over and over, I would run away. I think I ran over 100 times from home, and being in elementary and 5, 6, 7 even, and they would find me in school. I would my patterns are the same. I'd be sitting in class, and here they come at the door. I'm like, uh-oh, here they are. So yeah.
So what happened? So you obviously were successful in high school sports, right?
Yes.
You had to be to get a scholarship at BYU. What happened to derail you after you came to BYU on a full scholarship?
Okay. So as I came to BYU helping, got into with the Living Legends as well. When I came back from my mission to the Philippines, I served to the Philippines. When I came home, my mentality, and things, I was in baseball, throwing, and got into the pain meds at first for throwing, and that led into cocaine already in my school days. And I started to carry just a little of the behavior and the thinking errors still coming back, still with me, and holding on through school. I was able to continue in school because I love school so much. I've been highly involved, but still using and not too heavy. And it's after when I graduated and I went into the relationship to have my son after school is when everything started to change. That's when I was away from school and now getting into my addiction, making all the excuses and to use, and definitely became destructive and something that I went back to only knowing. I was a convert to the church, and although all the life skills that they taught me, anything that went wrong into my life and that I've done, I justified. Thinking errors became real and right there in front of me, and I kind of went back to old behaviors, constantly fighting back and forth with myself and my addiction, and began to minimize everything, justify everything, and really justifying, and also blamed people. I was famous for blaming everything on everybody. And
Every addict blames everybody else.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I blamed everything on everyone but myself. And so then when that happened with my son and them taking me away, and now my son's not in my life, it even more destructive, my path came. And I didn't know how to handle it. I didn't have the tools. And I always used to blame it on my mom or whatever because of my past. But here I am as an early adult, younger adult, coming into 25 to 30s. I'm still blaming. My story been the same. Oh, because of my childhood, because of this. They didn't have parents. They didn't have the tools. They didn't have the therapy. But that's all excuses, And then I found that today. I'm 47 years old today, and I'm finding out, oh my gosh, all the excuses I made, all the things that excuses I made just to use, just to blame. And I realize that now that I can make my own decisions on my own and in the right way, and with the better tools than I know how to ask for it.
How did you get into Odyssey House?
I like that you asked that question.
I'm glad you like it.
After
You could have said, that's a stupid question, but you didn't. So
my story is, after continuing to go on the destructive path, and I came back here to take a contract with Kennecott as a field superintendent. I was making enough money to do all my bills and to take care of my drug habit with cocaine. It was a mix of cocaine and meth.
sure.
And so I got into guns. I'm already a restricted person, and I actually got sent to prison. Right? So 2018, I come back. 2017, I take a contract with Kennecott. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm making all this money. Okay, I can do all of this and my drug habit, right? Thinking errors. First stop wrong. All of it were wrong. And so I went into prison for a gun charge. They gave me 2.5 years. So my pattern, 2.5 years, okay, the patterns was kind of remaining the same. I show up to work. I do everything so well, doing so good at being good. And also there was a thinking errors of so good doing bad. So I lose my job, my opportunity with Kennecott, go into prison. I come out and I go into prison for the second time. So I'm noticing, oh my gosh, okay, here I am. All the things that I've done successful, my mission, BYU, even commercials that I've done for BYU. And now I'm here in prison for the second time for not checking in. Gun charge first time, not checking in the second time. Well, I go in a third time to Utah State Prison.
You just super didn't like checking in?
Just for checking in. And then the third time, another gun charge, right? And all because all the thinking errors is always everything that led to my prison stay was because the use of drugs, right? Everything. Never had a drug charge before, but all the reasons why I went to prison was all because of my drug use, okay? Although not having charges for my drug use, it was all because of that. It was the beginning of all my prison stays. So now the third time, I come out of prison, and I'm thinking I've done all the things in prison this third time to be successful. So I got out the third time, and I just got out 6 months ago now, actually 7. I got out last July 2nd. I've had a group in there that was helping us change our thinking, be able to hold on to vision. So I've followed the process, I followed the steps, tried to apply everything. I got out immediately, got my general contractors, finished a 30-hour pre-licensure course for a B100, which is a general contractor's license, and also E100. So I'm figuring, okay, I'm following my steps, I'm being goal-oriented. Okay, I'm doing it, right? I'm feeling. And then I get a call 2 months ago before entering the program that my sister was diagnosed with 6 tumors. Well, I'm immediately response like, okay, I can't handle this. Immediate first thought round, I relapse into cocaine. And before I even knew what the biopsy was to wait, my immediate reaction was to, okay, I've took it so hard.
So you didn't even know it was cancer?
No, did not know.
You said an excuse to use again.
An excuse to use again, and that is perfectly correct. Yeah. I was like, yes, right? Immediately, okay, I have an excuse. Okay, so all the thinking errors come back after, again, doing so good, and then immediately toss it away. Well, there was a difference though. There was an aha moment, because when I was actually sitting 3 days into a pile of cocaine, I thought to myself, okay, something needs to change, because if not, fourth time, prison will come. I called, I was like, okay, what can I do? Well, I picked up the phone 2 months ago, called my PO, called my pro officer, and I says, look, I just relapsed. I need your help. And that was the aha and a big change for me, because never in my life have I ever thought to ask for help.
What did your PO say?
My PO says, really, Robbie, what happened? So I sent them the pictures of the MRI scans for my sister. I says, this is what I'm dealing with. And I have just relapsed. I am sitting face deep in cocaine for 3 days now, and I really need your help, because if not, you're going to take me straight back to prison. So he was like, oh my gosh. He looked at the pictures and says, okay, can you come in? I was like, absolutely, I'll come in. So I go into my in APNP here in Salt Lake. I sat down, and he says, I'm here to help. What do you need help with? And I says, I need your help because I relapsed and I really need some treatment. I really need some help. And I've never asked for help in my entire life. And to even have that thought process never existed. So I knew that was a big change. Immediately, I could feel everything changes, because I don't ask for help. I'm stubborn. I have ego. I have pride as a male growing up in Hawaii. And he looked at me in disbelief. And he was kind of like, nah, I wasn't buying it. Kind of looking at me like, really, are you serious? I was like, I'm serious. I need your help. Please help me. So I was actually kind of begging now. So he says, okay, Robbie, we have 2 programs here in Salt Lake that are JRI approved and also board approved. We have First Step and we have Odyssey House. So I said, what's the difference? What do they do? What can they do for me? He goes, okay, first, they're both treatment programs. One is MRT and one is a very structural, a very more in-depth of therapy and behavior and cognitive. And I says, okay. He goes, first, let me ask you this. Do you want relaxed program or you want structured and very, very serious program? I said, I need the structured, because if I'm unstructured, I am not going to change. So he said, Odyssey House, you go. Once I put you in, you are to start. If you do not start, that is a violation of your parole agreement, and I will send you back to prison. I said, well, is that why I'm here? I'm asking for your help. You gave me the help. Let's go. I said, please give me 2 weeks to wrap up my apartment and my vehicles, and I'll be there in 2 weeks. Please just let me take care of this, tie up all ends. So he said, okay, 2 weeks. So we looked at the date, and December 6th was my 2-week spot. And so he says, okay, I'm going to put you in. I want you to call immediately. Well, I says, okay, after I leave this office, I'm going to call. While I'm standing out on the sidewalk, I talk to admissions and says like, okay, you have to call every day for a bed. So I called every day for a bed, and then I got a call back, and they says, hey, we have an open bed. Can you come in on December 6th? And this was the day before, and I says, absolutely, I will come in. Well, here I am. I showed up at Odyssey House. I came into admissions, and after a few weeks, my parole officer comes to the door, and I come walking out of Odyssey House, and he was like, I can't freaking believe it, Robbie. You followed through with your word. And I says, I came for you for help, and I'm serious about this help, and I'm here. I'm here to be the best me finally, and to do the right thing. But I needed help, Officer Baker, and thank you. And so
I bet that's one of the first times he's gotten a call from one of the people he was supervising that was like that.
yes,
You know,
I remember you. You came to admissions, and I was standing outside.
So
It was you.
it was me.
I remember you walked up and said, I want to be admitted. And I was like, for residential? Because you had a car and everything and everything all together. And I was like, yeah, you just have to call this number and then they'll give you the instructions. And then you came up to me after and you were like, thank you for telling me. I just talked to Susie. Was that you?
Yes, it was me.
I remember that. And I was like, why is this guy coming to residential? Like, he looks like he has a car and a life. And that's so funny. I'm so happy you came.
Yes, and thank you. Your vivid memory, because that was word for word of what we talked about.
Yeah.
And you kind of looked at me like really strange, like, really, what are you doing here? In that sense. And
It's like, okay, if you really want the number, here it is.
yes, and you gave me the actual correct number, because the other ones wasn't working that APNP gave, and it was the right one. So I actually called back and said, PO, let me give you the right number to call and the right number to put in to give others. But that was me that came in that day.
That's so wild. Yeah.
What'd you do with the pile of cocaine in your house?
Finished a half of it and the rest of it in the toilet bowl.
Wow.
Yes.
You were determined.
I was determined. It's because it was, I thought about my sister needing me. My mom's already diagnosed with cancer, and that's the news I got when I was in prison this past time. So I didn't relapse in prison, but as soon as my sister got that news, and I immediately couldn't handle it. And I went to things that I know, right? The thinking errors, the thinking patterns, the behavior of dosing, of numbing, right? Every emotion's numbing. Everything was numbing, and you don't really feel anything, don't know how to process anything or identify, or I like to see recognize, emotions and be able to respect the emotions. And now it's a big change in knowing how to feel things.
Can I ask if your sister's okay?
My sister is okay, and we found out the news that it is non-cancerous.
The tumors were not cancerous.
It is not cancerous. So she is in the middle of doing, there's a difference between chemotherapy and radiation. My sister is doing radiation because it's non-cancerous, and my mom is fighting stage 4, doing very well. She is doing chemo, but hanging in there. So my sister and mom is battling together, and it's a nice to be there, to hear them, to go through the emotions, not being numbed and all coked out, and to be able to cry, to share the emotions, to respect it and feel it through, and tell myself it's going to be okay, and that I can face the emotions for the first time.
Yeah.
Without numbing it.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
Good job.
Yeah. So
Have you considered how you would handle it if your mother passes away, or if your sister was diagnosed with cancer in the future? Would you go back to the cocaine, or how would you handle it?
oh, let me tell you what the new tools I have in my toolbox. I can reach out to my peers.
He's ready for this one.
Yes, I am ready, because I look. It's a quantum change here in the Odyssey house, and it's because there's a difference. And I know I shared with you guys this part. That's my favorite part. It's because and from my perspective, being in prison, I've done the treatment programs, the full residential drug treatment programs called BRT, Beaver Residential, and you have to be there. So it was a difference between being in prison and don't know who is really 110% with their recovery, compared to Odyssey House, where every single 87 individuals are being held accountable, taking their recovery seriously, and holding you accountable and calling you on your shit, and making sure that everyone is going to get through this together. I take Odyssey House all day, and it's because I feel prideful now of my recovery. I take pride like I do in my work. Anything that I do in my work, there's a sense of pride and craftsmanship, right? Well, in my recovery, I take it as such. And so that's where I felt the power of the house. And that's where I really got to see, man, I'm not alone, because I always feel alone. Because why? I'm isolating, right? I am zero stating, and I am definitely isolating and not reaching out. So when you see this huge army, and I call it the Odyssey Army, the Odyssey team, actually, when everybody's about it, you gain a sense of pride. And I'm like, okay, I can do this. I'm not alone. So now, for the first time, I know there's reaching out to peers, staying connected, and it's all about connection. So I make sure my connections are strong, and that way, when I'm out there, my connection continues. I have friends. I have a team behind me that anytime I'm struggling, hey, can we do something? Can you be here? I need you, and you on my side right now. This is what I'm going through. And I believe I can ask for that now. Never in my life. So it's a very quantum change for me, because it's pretty cool to ask for help now. And I like it.
So that's what we do if you got some bad news about your
Absolutely.
sister.
Number one, pick up the phone because I trust my peers who I'm going through this with. And it's a trust level, and it's building that relationship of trust in there. It's BRT is what they should teach on my mission, build relationships of trust. And so I built that with all these people at Odyssey House, staff included, peer support and therapists, CPSSs and LCSWs. So I have confidence and trust in the people I am learning from and the people that I'm growing from. And now to be connected in the sober community, sobriety, and I think I can trust and I can count on my peers because I think it's that connection is key to a successful recovery. So
What are you going to do next?
my goal is to continue the Odyssey journey because it's been effective for me. It really is. And nobody paid me for this, but
Here's some money on the side. Here.
it's because the experience is real. And that's why I love to share my story. Being involved with the JETS program, big difference on the outreach and knowing that telling my story, I can make just a little difference and just even if it's just a little ripple. So my goals now is to continue my journey with Odyssey to IOP, right? Into Odyssey, I'm going to voyage out. There's different levels at the Odyssey House, as you well know. I am a navigator next week, and I'm going to voyage out because my steps is to continue my assistance and help in recovery with all those that have struggled just like me, and to show them that if I can do it, they can do it. And there's better things in life that they can be a part of, and that's their families, their kids, or being a better person, overall, in society. And I'd like to give back, and I'd like that to be a part of my career. So my goal after here is to go into Odyssey House's IOP, Odyssey's treatment in the IOP program, to do part-time school as a SCSW. And I want to be on a clinical level because I want to be that person when I am a therapist stepping into the room to help someone like myself. I can relate through and through and 110% and be there for them and to show them also to bring hope to those in recovery and struggling with addiction that I came from where they exactly am today, and this is where they can be. So I look forward to that. That's my biggest goal. So I have things in line with resources that is going to be part of my goals and actually part of my transition plan. So everything is in my transition plan, very detailed on my steps and goals from 1 year, 5 year, and a 10-year goals. And including short and long-term goals.
Lots.
Well, you've got everything laid out.
I'm laid out, and now it's just doing it.
Yeah,
got to make sure I do it.
I should point out that you spoke to a family support group, and their conclusion was that you should become a motivational speaker because you speak so well.
I love that. I love that. Motivation things. I motivate the people at the house. I'm a house coordinator at Downtown Odyssey House, and it's a special group. And to able to work with every one of my peers and to coordinate everything, every movement in the house, it brings me closer to them, where I can practice and being that person as a role model, being that example. I think it starts there.
You're going to make it.
Enjoying it.
You're going to make it. Our 30 minutes are up, believe it or not. Thank you for sharing your story and your vision of the future. And it's a great story, and you should be a motivational speaker, and you can do that working with people in recovery. So thank you for being here.
Mahalo, Randall Kala, and thank you, Nicole Sack. Thank you guys for your guys' time.
We'll see you on the beach in Hawaii.
Okay. Yes. Thank you for having me at Odyssey House Journal.
Thanks. Thank you for watching or listening to another edition of Odyssey House Journals.